Okay, in today's lecture we will discuss about the two instruments. In particular, we'll start with firstly the spectrophotometer. Then we'll also compare or discuss it along with the colorimetry. Both these instruments they work on same principle. That is, spectroscopy is actually it is the interaction of the light. That is electromagnetic spectrum. The light with that of the matter. So we all know that the living matters, we are more interested in biological system here with the living matters, and it can be any biomolecule. So it can be a protein, it can be a nucleic acid, it can be a carbohydrate. So it is the instrument which is used for both the things, that is for qualitative as well as for quantitative identification, estimation of different biomolecules. So what this instrument actually does is, so before starting or before discussing more about technically about this instrument and all, we will first of all have an overview of this instrument, what this instrument is actually about. This instrument, it consists of a source of light. So we will have a block diagram of it. So we will have a source of light. Here you can find this is a light which generates a bulb which emits a light. This light is allowed to pass through a small lens. So that lens can be called as a collimator, but that is something which collect that lens. After collecting this lens, they are further deviated or they are taken up to one central, what you can say, a grafting instrument or a monochromator. As the name suggests, it is something which combines all this ray, and it is like a triangular prism, and when we allow this light to fall upon this, the light that is emitted out of it, it forms a whipjaw, or it forms a spectrum, it forms a array of radiations or different rays. We all know the principle of the rainbow, right? So it is the light which falls on the droplets, tiny droplets of the clouds or water, rainwater, and it forms that rainbow like structure. So similarly, spectrophotometer, here we are interacting, or we are going to discuss about the interaction of light with that of the matter. When this light is fallen on this monochromator, what this monochromator does is it splits this and forms a spectrum out of it. Then here we have a slit. We can call it as a slit because it has a small opening over here. So out of this different color radiations, only one particular yellow color radiation is allowed to move through this slit. Now this particular instrument or this particular part of this instrument, we call it as a wavelength selector. Then that particular wavelength of radiation, it is allowed to interact with the matter. So the matter which we are interested here in biological system, it can be nucleic acid, it can be a protein, it can be a carbohydrate or anything, or that can be used in the diagnosis as well of different biological fluids or body fluids. So it is kept here in a small tube, it can be a cuvette. This particular wavelength of radiation is allowed to pass through this particular sample or this element. And again, now we know that the activity or the what we can say, the nature of light. When a light is fallen on a particular object, some part of it will be transmitted, some part will be reflected, some part will be refracted. So based upon this, a small amount of light which is taken up by this instrument is called as an absorption, and the remaining light is given out. So this additional light which is passed, which when allowed to pass through this object, when this yellow color radiation it passes through this object, it is further collected through a detector and it can be further quantitated. So this is actually the working of our instrument. So spectroscopy is nothing but it is the interaction of the light with that of the matter. And what are the further uses of this? So based upon the need, or based upon the instrumentation, there are several different variants of it. We will discuss in coming lectures that there are different types of spectrophotometer which are used for particular purpose. So they can be further categorized, that it can be an absorption, it can be emission, it can be refraction. Some of the spectrophotometer, they are the source of light, they vary in that case. So we can have a UV, we can have visible, we can have IR, we can have microwave, even NMR. So there are different types of spectroscopies that are used routinely in biological system to study or to investigate or to identify the different types of biomolecules. So we'll come back to our first slide, spectrophotometry. Spectrophotometer, that instrument we call it as an spectrophotometer, and the study of that technique is called as a spectrophotometry, or we can even call it as a photometry or spectrometry. Spectrophotometry, if we divide this word, spectro means it deals with the spectrum of light. Photo, it actually is directly related with the light, and metry is something which is measurable. So here what we do is, we take in account the different light sources, we generate or we form a different spectrum of it, we choose a particular wavelength of radiation, allow it to fall upon the matter of our interest, we allow that matter to absorb that radiation, the amount of radiation which it has absorbed, based on that also we can quantitate it, or the amount of light that is transmitted out of it, even based upon that we can quantitate it. So this instrument is used for both the purpose, for qualitative as well as for quantitative analysis. Qualitative means whether it is present or not. Say for example, we have been provided with a sample. Someone said that there is a say water molecule. So water, and in that water someone has added carbohydrate, say sugar in it. So whether that sugar is present or not, if we are interested to identify that, we can call that technique as a qualitative test. Means वो present है या नहीं है. And quantitative means if it is present, what much quantity of sugar has been added, whether it is 1 gram per 10 ml or 2 gram, 3 gram, 5 gram, etc. So this technique or this instrumentation can be used for both this purpose, for qualitative as well as for quantitative estimation. This particular instrument you will also discuss in more detail in chemistry, for the identification of different types of chemicals, or for the identification of different types of drugs and all. Even you will also need a background of physics to understand about this spectrophotometer, because here we are employing the light, and for this we must be able, or we must know that what are the characteristics of a light. Characteristics of light means the nature, wavelength, wave nature of a light. So you must know the characteristics of the electromagnetic radiation as well. You must know the different wavelengths, or how we can divide that electromagnetic spectrum into different regions, that is gamma rays, then we have IR rays, then we have UV, visible, microwave, radio waves, likewise. So the wave energy and wavelength, we must be able to identify, we must be able to distinguish that what are the characteristics of this wave, and how this wave, when allowed to interact with a particular matter, how they react with it, or how they interact with it, and based upon that, how the molecule reacts among themselves or with the radiation. So based on that, there are several advances, or there are several methods of spectroscopy. So in our curriculum there is a mention of, we have to study the principle, method and application of these techniques. So we have to study the principle. Principle is this particular instrument or this particular technique, its principle is that the light, it has electromagnetic radiation, it has dual nature, electrical property as well as magnetic properties. So taking in account this electromagnetic property, we allow it to interact with the biomolecules, While reacting with the biomolecules may move from their ground state to some excited state. That is through nuclear transition, that can be through electronic transition, or if the radiation is of lower energy, it can lead to simply vibration. Instead of pulling the electron from one orbit to another orbit or transiting that electron from one state to another state, it can simply make it to vibrate or to rotate, or even if their energy is of some other frequency, it can lead to electron or nuclear spin as well. That can be used in NMR, that is nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. So based upon the type of radiation, we will try to interact, or we will try to relate it with the different types of biomolecules, how the biomolecules react with that, and based upon this interaction we will be able to investigate, or we will be able to identify whether that molecule is present or not, that is qualitatively, and if it is present, what is the quantity of that particular molecule in that particular solution. So qualitative as well as quantitative estimation of different molecules or biomolecules can be done with the help of spectrophotometer. So spectrophotometry is a method to measure how much a chemical substance absorbs light. Absorb means something which it holds and takes with itself, absorbs it. Like a paper or a cotton, if you place it on the surface of say a glass of water has been spilled on a table, and now that table is full of water, what we do, we take a cloth, or we can take a cotton, and we simply put it on that surface. What that cotton will do, or that cloth will do, it will start absorbing that water. So similarly, what spectroscopy is, it is the chemical that absorbs the light that is allowed to bombarded on that particular molecule. So spectrophotometry is a method to measure how much chemical substance absorbs light by measuring the intensity of light as a beam of light that passes through the solution. So here we must be able to make it clear that what should be called as a solute. Solute is something which is smaller in quantity. So for example, here in our example, sugar is a solute, and we try to dissolve that sugar in the water. Water here is a solvent. So solute we have dissolved in a solvent, and when that has been dissolved, we will call that particular mixture as a solution. So spectrophotometry is a method to measure how much chemical substance absorbs light by measuring the intensity of light as a beam of light that passes through the sample solution. I hope I am clear.
Yes, sir.
Now the basic principle is that each compound absorbs or transmits light over a certain range of wavelength. We know this characteristics. You might have studied this in your 11th and 12th class as well. So every matter or every element, it absorbs or it transmits some sort of wavelength of radiation. We know that the color of leaves, it is not actually green, it is the reflected color. So it absorbs red and it reflects green, so we can visualize it as a green color. So likewise, all the molecules, all the different not only biological molecules, living, non-living matters, they interact with the light, they absorb some sort of radiation, and some sort of it is reflected, and some sort of it is depending upon the solution, it can be even deviated. The measurement can also be used to measure the amount of known chemical substances, that is the quantitative. Spectrophotometer is one of the most useful method of qualitative analysis. As we have discussed, qualitative analysis means whether it is present or not. So for example, if you go to a physician and he suspects that you have got a food poisoning, and he thinks that this particular compound may be present in your body, so he can prescribe you for say one of the qualitative tests, say for identification of one particular compound. So that qualitative estimation can be done by performing this spectrophotometry. So in chemistry or in biochemistry we can use it for different purpose. Not only in biochemistry, it is also used in physics, in chemistry, in material science, in engineering and clinical sciences for estimation, qualitative as well as quantitative estimation of the different compounds. Now every chemical compound, it absorbs. Now there are the different terminologies. Do listen this very carefully. The compound can absorb. Absorb means which it holds with itself. Transmit means it allows it to pass through it. Suppose we have allowed a radiation to hit on a particular solution. Some of the radiation it will be absorbed by it and remaining will be transmitted. That is also known as reflected. So the compound, it can absorb, or remaining incident light which is not absorbed is transmitted. So we call it as an electromagnetic radiation. We just discussed that why we call it as an electromagnetic radiation, because it has both the characteristics. It has electrical conductivity and it has magnetic properties over certain range of wavelength. Now this spectrophotometer is a measurement of how much chemical substance absorbs or transmits. That is, how much light it will absorb and how much light it will transmit. Is widely used for even quantitative analysis in various areas like chemistry, physics, biology, biochemistry, material science and chemical science. Even for clinical diagnosis and for industrial applications, like say for example there are different industries, food industries, in order to identify the adulterant. Say in your oil industry, to identify the impurities. It can be used in your dairy industry to identify whether the texture or the content is uniform or not, and likewise. So there are several applications of these instruments in different industries. Any application that deals with the chemical substance or materials can use this particular technique. So that is true of this technique. This is a versatile and universal technique, can be used and is already in use across all the labs throughout the world. In biochemistry, it is used to determine the enzyme catalyzed reaction. In clinical sciences, to examine the blood or tissue or other clinical diagnosis. So it has several advantages and uses, applications. Spectrophotometer, as we have discussed, is the instrument that measures the amount of photons. Now what is photon? Photon is a unit of light. I guess आपने ये physics में पढ़ा ही होगा. Photon, a unit of light. So it is the measure of the intensity of light that has been absorbed by that particular chemical or that particular solution, and if not absorbed, what is the amount of light that has been transmitted through that particular solution. With the spectrophotometer, the amount of known chemical substance, that is concentration, can be determined by measuring the intensity of the detected light. Depending upon the range of wavelength of light source, it can be categorized into different types. So not only these two types, there are different types as well. One is UV visible spectrophotometer. UV is ultraviolet. We know that the sun, it emits UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation. They are harmful, and 200 to 400 around nanometer wavelength is of UV range, or to be specific, it is starting from 185 and somewhere around 400 nanometer it is UV range. So UV, if we are using a source of radiation, a light source which generates the UV light, then that technique or that instrument, we call it as an UV spectrophotometer. If we are employing an instrument which has 400 to 700, that is a visible range radiation emission, then that is called as a visible range, or we call it as a visible spectrophotometer. Generally, most of the instruments, most of the spectrophotometer, they are having this, both the things together, UV hyphen visible spectrophotometer. So it will have a source of radiation for UV separate, and it will have a separate source of light for visible range. and they are used in a common instrumentation. Next, it can be an IR spectrophotometer, which generates the infrared radiation of that electromagnetic spectrum. That instrument we will call it as an IR. Likewise, there are NMR, microwave, and other types of spectrophotometric techniques. But UV visible, they are more routinely required in any biochemistry lab or any biology lab. Now, in visible spectrophotometer, the absorption or the transmission of certain substance can be determined by the observed color. As we have discussed, the color of leaf, it appears green to us, but actually it is the light that has been reflected by that particular surface. So our eyes, human eyes, we have a limitation. We can't see all the radiation. We can only see a range of that electromagnetic spectrum, which comprises of 400 to 700 nanometer. That is a visible range, visible to human eyes. So that is we can see with our eyes. So that particular wavelength of radiation, we call it as a visible region or visible area or spectrum, part of the spectrum that can be visualized by human eyes. So we call it as a visible range. So in visible spectrophotometry, the absorption or the transmission of a certain substance can be determined by the observed color by our eyes. Or in this case, we can replace our eyes with a detector which can detect that light and can convert it into a digital form, and we can get a digital figures over there, the numbers over there. Now, for example, a solution that absorbs a light over all visible range, that is transmit only or no visible light, it will appear completely black to us. So if we have incident any light on a surface, and if that surface it absorbs all the light bombarded upon it, and it do not reflect or do not transmit any type of radiation, it appears black to us, black to our eyes. And opposite is true for the white light. If a visible light are transmitted, that is it do not absorb anything, the sun percent it transmit, then that object appears to be white to us. If a solution absorbs red light, it appears green, because green is the complementary color of the red. As we have discussed in our earlier example, the leaf or the plants, they appear green to us because they absorb the red color radiation of the visible VIBGYOR. Out of that VIBGYOR, they absorb the red color radiation and they reflect or they transmit the green color radiation. So they appears green to our eyes, but otherwise they are absorbing red radiation. So visible spectrophotometer in practice, it uses a prism. So that prism is something, that diamond-like structure, that triangular structure. In practice, it uses a prism to narrow down a certain range of wavelength. So in our block diagram, we have discussed that from a light source, different radiations were found through a slit. We have allowed it to pass through a prism, and after falling on that prism, it has generated a spectrum, a different ray of lights. So in visible spectrophotometer, it uses a prism to narrow down a certain range of wavelength to filter out the other wavelengths, so that a particular beam of light is passed through a solution sample. So we can see this diagram again. It will be clear for us here. So we have taken this collimator. So out of this different radiation, we have taken only a particular radiation and we have combined it or collated it onto this surface. This is called as a prism. What this prism has done, it has splitted this radiation into a spectrum. So these are the different colors: red, orange, yellow, green and indigo. So likewise, out of this, using this monochromator or selector, out of this we have chosen only one yellow color radiation and allowed it to interact with our solution. So similar thing happens with all the other types of instrumentations, other types of spectrophotometries, the variants of spectrophotometries. So this particular spectrophotometer, it works on the basis of two laws. So these two laws must be known to us. One is Lambert's law and the other one is the Beer's law. What this law states, we have to discuss this and we have to remember this. In fact, you have to remember this throughout your lifetime, because this technique will never let you go, or you will never complete any task in biology without the aid of this particular instrument. So the principle, or in principle, this instrument, how it works is stated by these two particular law. One is the Lambert's law, the other one is the Beer's law. Together, when we can also call them as a Beer-Lambert law. But these two laws are different things. So what this law states? It states that there are a linear relationship between the absorption and the concentration of a sample. So in a simple words, I will let you know. Coming back to this diagram. Say for example, what Lambert law first, we will firstly go for that. What Lambert law says, when we allow this particular incident radiation, this IO, I guess it will be hard for you to visualize this, but the small letters over here, they are the IO, they are the incident radiation. So this incident radiation is of yellow color. When we allow this incident radiation to pass through this object, the amount of light this particular solution, here this sky blue color solution which is marked here, so this dark blue color solution, it will absorb some sort of radiation. And what much amount of radiation it will absorb, it will depend upon this path length, that is the diameter of this cuvette or the sample holder. This is what the Lambert's law is about. What Lambert law says, the degree of absorption of the incident light. You can note it down. What Lambert law says, the degree of absorption of this incident light, it depends upon the path length. Lambert is related to the length of the sample holder. You can remember in that way also. Lambert, we have to remember the length of the sample holder. So what Lambert law says, the degree to which this light will be absorbed by this solution, it depends upon the path length of the sample holder. If the path length is smaller, lower amount of radiation will be absorbed. If the path length is comparatively more amount of radiation will be absorbed by this particular solution. This is what the Lambert law states. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Next is the Beer's law. Now, Beer's law, it states that the degree of absorption of the incident light, it depends upon the concentration of the molecules, or it depends upon the concentration of the solution. Now concentration of solution means, for this again we'll have to go back to our solute, solvent and solution. Suppose we have 5 test tubes, and in all these 5 test tubes we have taken 5 ml water in each, and in first test tube we have added say 1 gram of sugar, in second test tube we have added 2 gram of sugar. So what is the difference between first and second tube? The concentration of the solute is comparatively greater in second case, because वहाँ पर हमने number of molecules ज़्यादा कर दिए. We'll progress in the third test tube. In that case we have added 3 gram of sugar to the same quantity, that is 5 ml of water. So we have fixed the solvent, here it is the fix. We have in incremental concentration we have added the sugar over there, say from 1 gram, 2 gram, 3 gram, 4 gram, 5 gram. So the fifth test tube, it contains 5 gram of sugar or carbohydrate dissolved in 5 ml of water. So what will happen? In that fifth test tube there will be a crowd, and that crowd means there is more number of molecules present in that test tube. So what it signifies? The concentration. So in biochemistry or in our biology or in chemistry we call that as a concentration. So any another example we can also take that, say for example you can do this at your home also. Take a mug, take a finite amount of water to it and add that indigo dye, the dye that is used to stain your white cloth, that उजाला वगैरह कोई भी नील जो हम ऐड करते हैं वाइट क्लॉथ्स के लिए. So add 1 drop of Neil in that water. You can observe that the color of that solution will be somewhat light. In another mug, you take the similar or same quantity of water. You add 2 drops of that Neil. In third, you add 3 drops. In fourth, you add 4 drops. In fifth, you add 5 drops. So even if you observe it with your naked eyes, you can note the difference that the last one in which you have added 5 drops of that Neil, that will be of more dark color. So that is उजाला हमें पता है ना, 2 बूंद sufficient है. So likewise, if depending upon the concentration, if among this 5 test tube we have taken this in this particular cuvette or this sample holder, say for example the first tube of either case containing glucose or sugar or that our dye. So we have placed here the first tube whose path length is fixed, say for example 1 centimeter, and we have allowed this incident light to fall upon it. What will happen? Say for example in 1 gram there is presence of say 10 molecules of that color absorbing molecule. We can call them as a chromogen. So the unit which absorbs light, that is chromophore groups. Sorry. So chromophore groups are say 10 chromophore groups per 1 gram. So in first tube there will be 10 molecules, and this 10 molecules they will absorb this particular incidence light. Suppose we have replaced this solution with tube second, where you have added double quantity, that is 2 gram of sugar or your dye. The path length is constant over here again, that is 1 centimeter. What will happen? In this particular tube there is increased quantity of that chromophore group. There are, instead of 10 there are 20. So 20 molecules will absorb this incident radiation. If you place the third sample, there will be incremental increase in the absorptivity of this particular radiation, and the fifth one will have the maximum absorption in this 1 centimeter path length. So what the BS law states is the degree of absorption of the incident light is directly proportional to the concentration of the solute dissolved in that particular solvent. So Lambert what he has suggested or what he has quoted, it depends upon the path length, that how much amount of radiation it will absorb. Even in that case also it was directly proportional. If we increase the path length, say from 1 centimeter we have increased it to 2 centimeter, so naturally more radiation will be absorbed in 2 centimeter path length. If we increase the path length to 5 centimeter, more radiation will be absorbed. Similarly, in case with the BS law, the degree of absorptivity, it directly depends upon the concentration of the solute present in that solution. So Lambert and BS law, both of them, what they state is, if we take them together, if we combine them, what this Lambert and BS law state is, there is a linear relationship, means direct relationship, between the absorption, that is the amount of light that solution will absorb. It direct relationship between the absorption and the concentration of the sample, that is the BS law. Concentration जहाँ जहाँ आएगा हमें BS law याद रखना है. For this relationship, BS law can only be applied when there is a linear relationship, and it can be written as absorption is equal to ELC. So what this A is, it is the absorption unit, epsilon is the molar coefficient or molar extinction coefficient or the absorptivity coefficient, L is the path length, and C is the concentration. So what Lambert law says, the absorption is directly proportional to the path length, and BS law state absorption is directly proportional to the concentration. And this directly proportional is replaced here by a constant, that is molar extinction coefficient epsilon. So the absorption, so in summary we can state that what Lambert's and BS law state, the degree of absorbability of any compound or any solution, it depends upon the path length and concentration of the solution. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know we have taken more time to discuss this, but this concept is very much crucial and it will be required for you for your lifetime. Most of the competitive exams, they will ask